All right, so quiet here now. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for coming. My name is Ryan Irwin. We'll do a little bit deeper introductions here today, but thanks for coming to the seminar. Our goal here is that you get a couple nuggets. And I was talking to Lindsay earlier, and hopefully you're a little uncomfortable, and that's good because that means that you're going to improve and stretch yourself. And so today we've got a really nice group here. It's going to be fairly informal, but the agenda is we're going to do a seminar here and kind of give you the ins and outs of what it is to compete, what that process looks like. And then from there, we're going to do posing. So everybody's going to get a chance to pose. And don't worry about it. We'll talk about this later. Nobody's being judged today. There's no pressure. You may not even know like what category. We'll help you with that today, okay? So you get a chance to experience that, and then we'll follow up with a Q&A. So just as a show of hands, I just want to kind of get to know my audience. Who here, this is like you've never competed before, and this is your first like foray into trying to figure out what this is? Okay, so most of you. Okay, cool, good. So this will be good. So today is kind of like an overview, and it's gonna feel like drinking from a fire hose. All right, you're gonna get a lot of information today. Don't get overwhelmed. We're here for questions, and I've been doing this now for over 30 years, and I'm still learning things. I'm still learning about my body. I'm still learning about the sport, and I'm still trying to grow. And so don't think that you're gonna get everything you need today. Okay, so don't worry about that. Just take it in and enjoy the process. So let's go ahead and do some, I got to stay ahead of my slides here. So let's do some introductions. So like I mentioned, my name's Ryan Irwin. I'm the president of the NAMBF, which is the federation that I'm involved with. But today we're going to talk about just all federations. Okay, so don't worry about this. Isn't like NAMBF per se, but that's where I'm from. I'm a pro natural bodybuilder. Like I said, I've been competing for over 30 years. I'm a full-time coach, also obviously husband, father, and stuff. And so I started doing this when I was 16 years old. I was a teenager, and I've been competing throughout my life through all of those different phases of life. You know, kids, college, career, young couple, young kids, all that stuff. And so wherever you're at in your life, you can do it. You can do it. So I want to encourage you to this is a lifetime thing that you can continue to do. So let's just go around. We got some other pretty top-notch people in here today, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So Cary, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Cary Douglas.
Oh, we got a mic right here.
Nope, sorry.
That's the
Thank
mic.
you. That's the mic. Wow. Nice. Nice.
Working on the fly, sorry.
Hey, it works. Just don't get me angry at you. Anyway, I'm Cary Douglas, and I am a WNBF Masters Pro in bikini. I'm retired, though. I started in my 40s. I'm probably the oldest one in the room. But I started in my 40s, and I'm now in my mid-50s. So that's just to say that you can do it at any age. So if you have older people in your life that have thought about it, tell them to go for it. I'm also a posing coach. I have some nutrition background and coaching background. Don't really do that too much anymore. And I am a judge for both amateur NAMBF as well as pro. Did I miss anything?
I think that, yeah.
Okay.
And you're the
A
promoter.
mom, a grandma, a wife.
Yeah.
Oh, and I am the promoter of Midwest Musclefest that'll be here in Cedar Falls August 30th. So hope to see you there, whether it be on the stage or in the audience.
My name is Blanchard. I'm a WNBF pro. I'm one of Ryan's clients. My story is really simple. If you're young, like if you're like in your early 20s or just out of high school or in college, just continue to stay active, keep doing stuff. That's what I did. I wrestled in college, and then when I got done wrestling, I immediately started powerlifting, and then I immediately started bodybuilding. So for me, like my body hasn't taken a break in the last 15 years. I'm a police officer. I work for the West Des Moines Police Department, so I'm from Des Moines. And yeah, I'm a veteran as well. And I love this. I love training. I love fitness. I love everything about it. It does more for you mentally and physically kind of at the same time. I think me and Chris competed together in our very first show ever in Cedar Rapids back in 2016. Is that right? Yeah. So, yeah, love it.
I should probably introduce myself to people that don't know me. I am Chris Dunne. I own Irish Strength Gym here in Independence. I am also a WNBF professional bodybuilder. I earned my pro card last year, and at the Southern States Show down in Missouri, Ryan was my coach as well. I think we've kind of coined him as the pro creator. He's definitely worked with a lot of great.
It wasn't mine.
Oh. That explains a lot. So yes, basically got my pro card last year. I've been competing since 2016. As Brandon said, that was our first show that we had together down in Cedar Rapids. Yeah, that's husband, dog, dad. I don't know. That's about it for me. So
Yeah, awesome. So we got a good group here. Kayla, she's also a WNBA pro, and so we'll have a Q&A afterwards. And like I said, we're all here to help you guys and resources. So good diverse crowd here. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's talk about some prep aspects. So we're going to dive right in. So I'll put my judge's hat right on here. And so as a judge, when you're on stage, the first thing that judges are looking for is symmetry. Now, why do I start with that? Because that is the thing that takes the longest to develop. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so worried about being conditioned and worrying about my posing. And those things are important, but your symmetry is the thing that takes the longest to develop. And it's something, honestly, you focus on your entire career, because you're always trying to look at it from that lens. And that's something that it takes the longest to bring up. And so you want to focus on it right away. And so as a judge and also as a coach, that's the first thing that I'm looking at when I'm looking at an athlete. It's like, okay, do we have missing body parts? Or is there something that we need to focus on to help bring up the whole balance? Okay, because again, as a judge, that's one of the first things that we're looking at. So symmetry, top to bottom, front to back, left to right, all of that. Next thing is conditioning, okay? So while symmetry takes the longest, the next thing is conditioning, okay? Now this is what most people think of first, is dieting down. Now, getting in proper condition it depends on the category that you're in. And we'll talk about this later, but some categories are more conditioned than others, some not as much. It also depends on you as the individual. If you have more muscle, okay, you might not need to or shouldn't need to get as lean as, say, somebody who doesn't have a ton of muscle, which is kind of opposite, because you're like, well, gosh, this person's huge, don't they need to, shouldn't they get as lean? Well, they have more definition by not getting as lean, if that makes sense, because they have more muscle and the muscle shows the definition, versus somebody who doesn't have as much muscle, they might need to get leaner to show that level of conditioning. So I say all that, it's individual, like not everybody needs to lose 30 pounds or whatever the case is. So it's very individual, okay? The big key on this one is giving yourself enough time. Okay, about 3/4 of you haven't competed before, and so you don't know how long it's going to take. And so one of the best things you can do is start early, because when you are in fat loss mode, your body doesn't want to retain muscle. Okay, muscle burns calories. It's expensive. Muscle is expensive tissue. And so your body, when you're in a calorie deficit, what does it want to do? Well, it's going to get rid of muscle, because it's like, well, gosh, we have all this muscle that's burning calories. I'm not getting enough calories. Well, let's get rid of some muscle so we can not die, okay? Because your body's constantly worried about dying for some reason. I don't know why. So it doesn't want to starve to death. And so you want to give yourself as much ammo as you can to not lose muscle. And having time on your side is important, okay? So then that way, if you can diet slowly and keep the muscle, that's going to be your best asset for that. And then the final thing is presentation. Now this one gives some people it freaks them out a little bit. Okay, presentation. You mean I have to get on stage in my underwear? What? I still remember, like I said, the first time I competed, I was 16, And I still, to this day, I remember off stage, I'm like, I'm getting ready to step out under the bright lights in front of hundreds of people. I'm like, what am I doing? And so it's a big step, and I think everybody remembers their first time on stage, that first time you're on stage. But the presentation is something that you practice. It's just like, like Brandon said, as a wrestler, you want to teach your body to do the certain moves so you don't have to think about it. Because once you get on stage, you just want it to just go automatically. I know that sometimes I've been out there and suddenly it's like my mind went blank, and I'm like, I don't remember my posing routine. Like I have no idea what my posing routine is. But then all of a sudden, as that music comes on, and boom, it just starts to happen. So you want to get into that. And so the good news about presentation are these are easy points, okay? You will be nervous and you might have stage fright, but these are points that you can get. And this is just practice and rehearsal. And we're going to work on some of that today. And you're not going to master your posing today. I mean, Cary, you're a posing coach. I mean, you're constantly helping, top level athletes on their posing, right? I mean,
yeah.
Constantly.
Yep. Yeah. We just had 3 pros this year. So posing, I mean, it's many, many years of, and it really depends where you start too. Some people, if you're an athlete, you're a soccer player, it might take you a little longer to get that finesse and flow. If you were a dancer, probably come quicker. So it's individualized too as to how much time it's going to take for it to be natural for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's constant practice. I'm still learning. I mean, I always, as my physique's changed over the years, I've done different things on posing. I competed 3 years ago and I tweaked some posing things. I mean, you're constantly changing that. So it's never all right, I got this, moving on. You're constantly working on that. And then also it's all the other small little things like your skin. I hate the skin part. This is my least favorite aspect of competition because I'm not a high maintenance guy. Like for me, if I have to spend more than 30 seconds on my hair, that's too long. Okay. So but you have to get your skin color right. You have to, have it conditioned. You have to, take care of your skin, shave, exfoliate, all of that stuff. You got to get your tanning right, your color right. To give you an example, my wife and I, when we compete, she's got great skin, and we will use the same exact tanner, the tanning product. She will turn like this perfect shade of mahogany. I turn green, okay? And so it's not good. And so I have to be extra careful to make sure my skin takes the color correctly, and then also, with your suit, you got to make sure your suit's fine, fits correctly, and all those things. So all that comes into the umbrella of presentation. They're very controllable, and that's why I say they're easy points. Okay. And then the last thing I'll talk about on this is sportsmanship. We have very objective criteria that we judged on, okay, as judges. However, in the sport of bodybuilding, there's nobody that crosses a finish line or lifts the most weight. I mean, it's, you got a panel of judges, and they're picking people out based on the criteria. And so this should go without saying, but it's obviously sportsmanship is important. And when you go on stage, the thing you're competing against is yourself. If you go on stage and you feel like, I feel proud of what I'm bringing to the stage, I've worked hard and I feel good about that, that's a win. That's your first win. Okay. And you want to really latch on to that. And after that, it's like whatever happens, you can't control who else is going to show up. I've competed against this guy before, and I'm just like, I'm on stage, I'm like, man, oh well, I'm just here to have fun. And I had a blast. We had a blast that day. You just want to always have good sportsmanship. And again, with bodybuilding, we'll talk a little bit more about this with criteria. Get feedback from the judges. Your mom and your grandma, you're the best thing, and you're awesome, and you should have won or whatever. That's fantastic. But get the feedback from the judges so you can improve and see what you need to work on. All right. Anything to add to any of those before?
I was just going to say the last thing he said is extremely important. I just became an amateur judge as well. That's one thing I forgot to mention. So it is a completely different ballgame when you are judging people versus as a competitor. And one of the most crucial things that can hurt someone's entire psyche or mindset on competing is that exact thing, is where someone that loves you, someone that cares about you, will tell you, hey, you know, you looked incredible. I don't know what they're thinking. You look better than all those people. And then a judge says something that might be slightly different, and that can really mess with you. So just understand that those people love you and they're gonna always support you, which is a good thing. But just, yeah, that's a very fine line. So just be careful with that feedback from people that care about you.
Yeah.
Really important.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have the right mindset, I mean, this, again, this sport, you can do it forever. I mean, and that's one of the things I love about it is it's always a, competition against yourself. It keeps you in great shape. So, so I want to touch on here season versus contest. So, a lot of times, and actually, Brandon and I were talking about this before. You have a competition. A lot of people pick out a competition like maybe Midwest Musclefest here in August, and they say, okay, I want to get ready for that contest. But it's good to look at it from a season perspective because it takes a lot of work, of course, to get to what you need to do to get on stage. And it's better to strategically focus on a season. So especially if it's your first time competing, hitting, maybe 2, maybe 3 competitions, get the first one under your belt, and then say, okay, I'm going to do another one 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, Chris, how many seasons have you competed? What, 4 or 5?
I've been competing for like 8 years, so it's probably like four because I usually do every other year competing. So yeah, about 4 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, and so your last season when you won your pro card and then did your first pro contest, how many weeks was in between those?
There was 4 weeks between the day I earned my pro card and when I stepped on the pro stage. Yeah. Yeah, and that was the most grueling 4 weeks of prep ever. So I thought I was ready to step on the pro stage after I got my pro card. Ryan told me otherwise and said now it's time to actually step on stage and look like a pro. Yeah. And so we dialed it in even further and dug deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean it's thinking about it in seasons because now this depends on where you are with where you are in your growth. Like somebody who's new, they're going to improve quicker than say somebody like myself who's been lifting for over 30 years. Okay. I get very small improvements. So somebody that's young in their career can maybe compete more frequently. So there's one factor. The second factor is how conditioned did you have to get or what did you have to do to get on stage? If you had to lose, again, maybe 30 pounds of body fat, okay, you're not going to probably be able to compete for a while because you've got to bring your metabolism back up. You've got to, rebuild some muscle tissue, hormones, all of those things. You need to give your body some recovery time. On the flip side, maybe you're just one of those genetically blessed people who walks around at 12% body fat, diets for 6 weeks, and boom, you're stage ready. Okay, I hate you. But you can probably compete more frequently, okay, because it's not as much on your body, okay? And so that's a very individual thing, but my point to all this is that you want to have a strategic plan and make sure you give yourself enough time in between contest seasons to set yourself up for success, okay? So basically it's build, diet, compete, build, diet, compete, and that time frame is different for everybody. Yeah, please.
I would add one step in there. You've got your build, diet, compete, but then you've got your reverse, which is going to take just about as long as the diet phase, and that just gets you back to where you were with your hormones and all of that to where you can build. Yep. People think they go right into build phase after they compete, and you don't. Yeah. It takes a while.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we'll dive a little bit deeper on that. But yeah, it's first time competitors, that's a big deal. A lot of times, like when I'm working with a first time competitor, I'm really making sure they have their eyes wide open because that can be a messy period if somebody's not ready for that reverse what happens after the contest. So okay, let's talk into some peaking strategies. So you've done the work, you've mastered your posing, you've got yourself in the condition you need to get for on stage. That peak week, let's talk about that because a lot of times people that their minds are blown, they're not sure what to do, and there's a lot of approaches to that. I mean, let me start by saying the first thing is everybody is different. Okay, so you don't want to.
Ryan, can I just say,
please,
we have so many new people, so when he says peak week, we're talking like the week before the actual competition.
Yep.
So the week leading into your competition.
Yep. just like any sport, you want to make sure that whatever the day of that event is, that you're set up for success and you're your best, okay? And so for bodybuilding, that is, and I say bodybuilding, it's kind of a umbrella for all categories. You want your skin to be tight, your muscles to be full, and you want everything to look good, okay? Everybody is different, so it's trial or error, and each prep is different. Again, over the years, your body changes and adjusts, and this is why I'm so adamant about taking notes and how your body reacts. And as a coach, we're experimenting as we're getting close to the contest to see how the body adapts and stuff. And so it's all different. I mean, it's good to take notes from what other people may have done, but it doesn't mean that applies directly to you. Okay.
Can I add one little
Please.
thing?
Yeah.
I don't want to keep
that's what we're
messing
here
these
for.
guys up, but so like I can't express to you how important it is to essentially, I'm just going to say it, to have an actual coach, like someone who can actually do these things with you. Because what I've found out recently is a lot of people are doing it themselves, which I get it, right? We're in a new generation of life. Everything you can find online, you can AI it. I got it. But until you actually have a human being that like knows what they're doing and they know what they're looking at and they know all the ins and outs of it, looking at you and telling you things and like helping you through that process, it's a game changer. Because when you do it on your own, you're the only person you're holding yourself accountable to. And that's a really, really hard thing to do, especially when you talk about peaking, because I've done 5 seasons and Ryan's been my coach for all 5 of those seasons, and not every peak week has been different, but they have changed throughout the years. Because when I started with Ryan, I was in my 20s. Now I'm in my 30s, and those things, that changes, right? And I had a baby, or I didn't have a baby, but you guys get my point. I was a new father with a newborn, right? And women, you are amazing, but also like, men get stressed too, right? So that changes things for us as well, like when you're trying to lose weight and those kinds of things. So yeah, just super important.
Yeah. No, I'll give you the mic. Well, that's
Can I add one other thing?
Please, yeah.
So to stress getting a coach, again, speaking from my own experiences when I've had to like almost kind of step in and do a little bit of self-coaching in the past when I had someone prior to Ryan, I'm the type of person that I don't feel like I'm ever going to be good enough. So I will run myself into the dirt. And a lot of other competitors are like that too. You're never big enough, you're never lean enough, you're never doing enough. You need more cardio, less food. A coach will know when to either pull more cardio, pull more food, or they'll know when to back it off and actually give your body a little bit of break, a little bit of rest, which actually could give you an adverse reaction as well and make you look better and appear better too.
Yeah.
So it's just very, very important that you're able to be impartial to yourself, because you're going to be your biggest critic, and having a second set of eyes overseeing and helping you is extremely crucial.
Yeah, because if you try to do that yourself, you're going to be switching. Oh, I need to cut calories. I need to do more cardio. And it might not be time to do that. I am a coach, and I have a coach. Just think about it that way. Any pro has a coach. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, as humans, we operate with somebody overseeing. Like, you look at a top-level athlete, pick your sport, golf, basketball, wrestling, whatever. Their coach isn't there necessarily to teach them the skill. To a point, maybe some of that, but a lot of it's just that oversight, because, having somebody, looking over your shoulder, because and this is, in this sport, you have a certain personality. You're very driven, and that's good. That's a great thing to have. You need that. But it can also be a weakness, because you're so busy just grinding, and kind of like Chris said, you grind yourself into the ground. So, but yeah, so it's good having a second set of eyes. As far as peak week, it's not magical. If you haven't done, if you're not ready, the peak week's not going to magically make that work. You've got to, again, like I said earlier, putting time on your side. You got to make sure you're ready for it, and make sure you're where you need to be. But if you're in the right space, this can be maybe a 5% improvement, which 5%, it matters. It matters. But there's basically 3 levers that we can pull here. One is carbs, the second is fluid, and the third is sodium. Okay, those are the 3 things that basically push things or pull things out of your muscles. Okay, just very general terms here. But those are the three factors that you kind of, when you're looking at peaking, that you kind of looking at, okay, how can we manipulate these? The first is, there's three different basic methods to do it: front, middle, and back loading. So what that means is, if you're carb loading, so basically for when your muscles store carbohydrates, which is glycogen in the muscles, they expand, okay? When that happens, it pulls fluid into the muscles, okay? Muscles can't absorb carbohydrates without water, okay? Think of sodium as like the bus driver, okay? That jumps on sodium. Sodium brings the fluid into the muscle cells, okay? So those are the three levers. And so where you do that, like for some athletes, it makes more sense to carb them up at the beginning of the week, okay? Because then they fill out and then they tighten up as they go. For some athletes, it's mid-loading, okay? So maybe we carb up middle of the week, okay? And then they tighten up and then they look their best. Contests are usually on Saturday. Or backloading, okay? This is where you carb up at the end of the week. Maybe it's a day or two prior to the competition to fill out and tighten up, okay? All three of those methods are doable, but again, it depends on you and your body. And certainly, these are things that you want to figure out prior to the contest, okay? Peak week at this point is you want to already have it figured out. You don't want to experiment. You experiment before or after the contest, okay? But I always like to say we don't want to wreck the 95% that you've already achieved chasing that 5%. I think we've all seen this where somebody's done some extreme peak strategy and what happens? Then it backfires. And so they end up looking worse on contest day than they did a week prior. I've had clients where we just keep things running straight to the contest. It's like, hey, you look fantastic here today. I don't think there's any way that we can improve on this, and let's not wreck it. And then I've got some clients, that we're doing a lot of stuff peak week. And usually the ones that we do more, we've got more history. And so again, I want to repeat, you don't want to wreck the 95% that you already have trying to chase that 5% to get you into the competition. Okay, look at this guy.
That guy.
Yeah. That's Chris's pro debut. Okay, so let's talk about competition day, because again, a lot of people haven't done this before. You've peaked, you're ready to go. It's time to get on stage. So let's talk about what that looks like. All right, the day before. So this is Friday, usually. You've got check-in. So check-in is where you show your membership. You get a membership for whatever federation you're competing in. They're usually going to verify your classes you signed up for, maybe your height, maybe your weight. Make sure you've got your I's dotted, T's crossed. You're going to get your number. Hopefully you'll get a t-shirt, maybe some other goodies, whatever. Check in. You want to make sure you know where that is and what you need to do. Waivers, all that stuff. Drug testing, okay? If you are competing in a drug-tested event, you'll have to do your drug testing, and that's different for everybody. It could be a polygraph test or a lie detector test. That's usually before the competition. A urinalysis or urine test, that's either before or after the competition, but you'll want to know what you need to do for that. Tanning, I already kind of talked a little bit about this, but again, getting your skin prep done right that week is huge. There's a lot of options for tanning. Most competitions have a spray tanner. Who here has got like a spray tan before? Okay, about half of you. It's horrible. I mean, I think it's horrible. It's just, it's cold. It's, you're lean and you're cold already. Then you get this alcohol-based spray on you. You have to stand there. I hate it. I don't like it. But
the fan's the worst part.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, Ryan, you asked if they've had a spray tan.
Yeah.
The spray tan, if you've not competed, is not anything like the spray tan for competing.
Yeah. That's true.
You're naked.
Yeah.
And you stand like this for
Yeah.
a long time with a fan blowing on
Yeah.
you while you dry.
Yeah.
You gotta bend over and let it get in all the flavors.
Yeah. Give me your booty and you turn. Yeah. It's
kinda-
a process, but it is
Yeah.
so necessary. And I always recommend using the show tanner because most likely 80% or more are going to be using the show tanner. And so then that way it's going to be fairly consistent with the people on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of lose your modesty in the sport a little bit, but it's necessary, you know, and guys, actually, a lot of times we get a modesty sock, so we get a little bit of that, but not much.
I had one more thing, Ryan.
Yeah, please.
Maybe, and
Go.
I might be stealing your
No,
thunder.
you're
You
good.
might have been getting there, but the tanner, we talked about the skin prep. Once you sign up with them and pay for it, they will send you everything you need to know to prep for the tan.
Yeah.
Things you can put on your skin, things you can't put on your skin, what to wear, how to prep your skin, etc.
Yeah.
So don't get too stressed about that, because if you use the tanner for the show,
Yep.
they will tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just going to say. Do it. Follow that, follow that to a T. You know, again, I'm low maintenance, but exfoliate daily, shave daily, lotion daily, all the things that you're supposed to do. Because
And when he says shave, you shave everything.
yeah, everything. I mean, if you want to and I'll just be completely upfront. Your bikini line, I mean, if you just want to make sure that when you're wearing your suit, nothing's sticking out. Okay, but yeah, your back, your arms, ladies and guys, all that. So peach fuzz, once you throw that tan on, it highlights it all. So you want to get rid of it all. If you got tattoos, no big deal. Just make sure that, again, even more so, you get your tan right. Okay, if your tan's not dark enough, those will show through. Okay, and so you want to make sure you get that done. You can self tan, but it's usually not as good. There is a product out there called Dream Tan, which is, I like to say, similar to shoe polish, and you kind of pat it on. It's very messy, and it can actually look very bad if you don't do it just right. And so that's something that I've seen some competitors, but you got to practice with that stuff. And
Practice and have someone else do it for you.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, there's going to be places you can't reach.
Yeah, that's true. That and some promoters or competitions don't allow it. It's because it stains. It's very messy. It doesn't dry. It's like shoe polish. And so if you smear on something, it's on there. So if you're gonna go Dream Tan route, make sure you can use it. Okay, but like Cary said, the spray tan, it saves you time. It's about $100, $125. It's so worth it, because every time you try to tan yourself, you got to do it 3-4 times. It's going to take probably 45 minutes. Another person, it's just worth it. So.
And then, not to mention, they're on site at that show, so they'll do touch-ups. They help you with the gluing of your suit. Yes, we glue the suit on. They do a glaze. So they also help you get ready right before you go on stage.
Yeah.
And the color of your skin matters too. Like I don't need obvious reasons. I don't need three coats, I think is what the standard is. I just do 2 because it gets me too dark, and then it kind of takes away like what I actually look like. It's just kind of weird looking. That was Cedar Rapids. That was what I look like in Cedar Rapids, and ever since then we just do two coats because it just highlights and glazes or like browns me the way I should look, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's important too. But yeah, I am the opposite of Ryan. I'm very about my skin and face and all that kind
You're
of
high
stuff.
maintenance.
Takes me a little bit more time, but yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's easy points. You just want to make sure you get that right. So, and then execution. Okay. So, and I'll just kind of start and sum this up by just saying, get your I's dotted and T's crossed. Read your emails, know what you need to do, be where you need to be. Time, again, be early, be on time. What they say, 10 minutes early is on time is 10 minutes late. Know where you need to go. And so that way you can execute. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be freaking out. So if you can know what you need to do, then that's going to help at least take that off your shoulders. Okay.
My best suggestion for some of this, because once you get to this point, you have what's called prep brain also. And so you kind of you just lose your brain, basically. You're hungry, you're tired, you feel like crap. So the best suggestion I can have to help you with all of this, because there's going to be a lot. Your coach is going to be giving you what you eat when that day. You're going to need to be at your polygraph at a certain time. You need to be at tanning a certain time. When are you going to do your hair? When are you going to do your makeup? Take a friend.
Yeah.
Have your friend have all of that information so they can help you and say, you need to get ready to go get your tan.
Yeah.
When do we need, so just anybody can do that. Just watch the schedule and help you stay on task.
Yeah.
Because you will forget.
Yeah, exactly. And there'll be people backstage and expediter, their job is to line the athletes up, make sure they're where they need to be. But, you need to know where you need to be, know the itinerary, know where you are in the lineup, be backstage. I was at one contest, I'll never forget this. I was the MC, and next thing you know, the expediter is looking for whatever, and they couldn't find this person. So I'm making an announcement, and they're like, well, they must have left. And so the show must go on. And so that group of athletes came out, they did their posing, they come up, they go off stage, and right about then, frantic like, I'm here. I'm like, it's too late. There's a sweaty mess. It's not fair for them to come back on stage and stuff. So they missed their chance to compete. What happened was their coach had them in way back some stupid hallway getting prepped because their secret ninja didn't want anything to leak out. Well, that worked well, didn't it? So anyway, I just use that as a true story, is to just know where you need to be. Okay, so contest we talked about already. Get yourself settled up backstage, know where you need to be. Get your number, get your suit. Don't forget that at home. It's always nice to have a backup suit. Ladies, your suits are expensive. Just take care of them. Make sure they're ready to go. Guys, we get off on the cheap as usual. So it's not a bad idea to have two suits. Again, make the expediter your best friend, because they're going to be the ones that tell you where to go. Know who that person is. Figure out, every theater layout is different, so figure out what the flow is. Like, where's pump up room? What's the stage layout? Are you coming in from backstage, stage left, stage right? Just know where you need to be and just know that flow. And again, the promoter should send you those notes, but if you're not sure, again, check-in time is a great time to ask those questions. And then relax. Easier said than done. But whether and this is different for everybody, but whether it's headphones, listen to music, lose your mind on TikTok, whatever, but just try to relax, because if you are uptight and nervous, if you're pacing around, that's not going to help your physique. So try to chill out, get off your feet, and just try to relax, okay? Because you'll look better from that. Plus, part of this process is when the expediter says, all right, men, short, you're on deck. You should be pumping up, okay? You want to be able to pump up and get a pump. So, the more relaxed you are, the easier that's going to come, okay?
On that part, something that helps me, if you're like, I'm a big music person. I love music. I listen to music like probably, I don't know, 60% of the time that I'm awake if I can. The music that you listen to when you train, right? Like when you're like feeling it and you're in it. Like, save that music for when like you're pumping up to go on stage, right? Because that should give you that emotional endorphin of like, okay, I'm about to go do this. But then like try to find some stuff that's relaxing, like when you're just relaxing, right? Like songs that mean something to you, right? If you're a music person, I should say. Because like, this goes back to the wrestling mindset too. Like when I was wrestling, like, we used to always listen to hardcore rap or hardcore rock, right before a match. And then my senior year of college, I realized if I listen to a lot slower stuff, I'm a lot calmer. And then when I step on the mat, things go a lot better for me, to be honest. And that's what I transitioned into bodybuilding as well, is like, I don't necessarily need anything to pump me up. I need something that means something to me. And then like, I'm just ready to go. And I zone out everything. I zone out, like, if I'm competing with Chris, I'm not looking at him. I'm not focused on his physique or what he looks like. I'm just focused on what I know that I'm going to go out and do. And like what I'm trying to accomplish, right? Because you have to be able to, you are going to get into your own head, and you have to be able to get out of that. Because when you step on stage, like, you're not going to see anything but the judges and people, right? So just always try to remind yourself of that. So like try to win the mind game against yourself, if that makes sense. Yeah,
that's good. So again, when you're getting your tan, make sure you've got everything set up. The tanner will help you with this, but think of your suit as like a suit of armor. Okay, kind of silly, but it's true, because once you get it on, and you keep it on. Okay, so go to the bathroom before you get that final coat of glaze on, which is oil. The tanners will do that for you. Like Cary said, you're going to get glued into your suit, so it's a good idea to pee first before you get that thing locked in, and then get your pump. So in other words, ladies especially, I'm talking to you right now, you all look amazing, and it takes you got to get your makeup on, get your hair done. Make sure you have all of that done in advance. Like I remember one time, an athlete went to the venue to check in, And then she went home, and it took her longer to get ready than she thought, and she almost missed her chance to get on stage because she went home to get all that stuff done. Now, just bring it all with you. Get it all done. Get it, either wake up at the butt crack of dawn, do it before you go to the venue, or do it at the venue, okay? Again, you just want to think ahead and be ready to go.
A lot of shows will also have someone who does hair and makeup. So if you just want to hire someone to take care of it for you, you have an appointment set, and they do that for you.
Yeah.
I always have nervous peas. That's like a very normal thing. So
Yeah.
I can only speak for men really, but just be aware of that. That's going to be a thing. You're going to be like, you're going to go back to that.
Yeah.
You're going to keep doing that back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's be real. It's easier for men to pee.
That's what I said.
I know, right? Yeah. And like I said before, I think I started with this. I'll end with it. Be early, not late. Because that'll just set you up for success when you're early. Okay, so you got on stage. Congratulations. You look fantastic. Let's talk about what happens after this. And this is we're going to talk about the reverse process a little bit here. So number one is getting judges' feedback. Okay, depending on the competition, this can happen a variety of ways. Some competitions, there's like an after party or a meet and greet or whatever you want to call it, where you can actually talk to the judges. Okay, if they have that, take advantage of it. That's the best thing you can do, because the judges' books will literally be right there and open, and you can talk to a person and get feedback. Okay, and you can see why did they score you, how they scored you. Some will let you email. They'll email you the results. Okay, and so you might have to sign up for that. But again, figure out what you need to do. But yeah, you want your judges' feedback. Okay, so again, that's what help you improve. Okay. Network. Okay, this might sound silly, but it's true. I mean, this is a community. Okay, and getting around other like-minded people. And I keep putting you on the spot, Lindsay, but we talked beforehand. She's like, I don't know anybody else that does this, and that's one of the few nice things about social media, is that you can connect with people. But even more so is like when you're meeting people backstage, you've got this mutual respect for each other. And so it's great to make these connections. Whenever I go to a contest, it's like a little mini family reunion, because you're around these people that, you're doing the same thing. And so getting to know and surrounding yourselves with those people is important. So get pictures, get video. That's your best way to check progress. I think all of us here are big on pictures. I mean, I'm big on progress pictures, huge on progress pictures, because again, when you get on stage, they don't care what your numbers are. They don't care what your measurements are. They just care how you look. And so using pictures to gauge progress is key. And so, using tripods, being consistent, trying to use the same lighting to see how you look and compare week to week or whatever time frame that is. But then the day of the competition, get your pictures. The photographer, they're taking professional shots. They've got the best lighting. Your phone is going to do some, but not as good as you could with like the professional photographer. But get pictures. If you can, get video. Again, all that stuff is feedback to see where you were truly and how you can improve competition to competition. You guys going to add something to that, or?
Well, I was just going to talk about the professional photographer.
Yeah.
iPhones just really don't do it because of the stage lighting and then the tan. Everybody ends up looking really orange and kind of glows. I mean, even with the good phone.
Yeah.
And then we don't usually allow other photography except for phones because of the professional. Most shows have them. You just got to sign up for it. I highly recommend it because then you can see the lineup of the whole class. If they provide a video, even better. Because again, you're out there, you've seen these people backstage, but you didn't see them on stage.
Yeah.
So you didn't see how they presented, and so sometimes that can help you even just understand maybe why someone placed above or below you. So if they provide video, not all shows have a video option, but it just helps you see the full picture.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I've competed in a lot of shows, but in 5 seasons, I've probably gotten the professional stage shots, and I've paid for them, right? Probably in 80 or 90% of the shows that I've done, because I look at it as like, this is a really big deal in my life, right? So like, I've decided to do this really crazy hard thing, and I want to be able to always look back and be like, wow, like I created that, I accomplished that, right? Yeah, exactly. Like seriously, like I know it sounds kind of like, I guess, cliche or corny, but if you decide to do something like this, I would highly recommend getting those professional shots, because that's something you can always hold on to and that can never be taken away from you, right? Even if you only do one show and you're like, okay, that was fun, but I don't want to do this anymore. I think it's really awesome to have that. And then if you do multiple shows, I mean, you will see like a show from 2020 to 2023 for me was like a massive change in like one specific pose. I was like, oh my gosh, who's that guy, right? So that stuff's really cool to see. So I highly recommend getting the professional stage shots. It's not cheap, right? But it is something that I think if you're gonna do this, I would go all in.
And then have fun. Have fun. And let's talk about after the competition. Let's specifically talk about what you eat after the competition. Okay. So, it depends on everybody. I mean, for most of us, after the competition, you should enjoy yourself. You've earned it. What you eat that day is not going to wreck you. It's what you eat days upon days afterwards. But again, this is where having some oversight and some guidance can help. But what you do that night is usually fine as long as you don't eat yourself into a coma or the hospital. But it's also getting back on the horse the next day. Okay, and this is going back talking about reverse dieting. I think, right here. So have a plan in place of what you're going to do after the contest. Maybe that's to compete, like we said earlier, another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. Or maybe it's like, as a general rule here, it's very general, I usually say gain about 10% of your body weight after the competition. Okay, just for easy math.
After the season.
After the season, exactly. So that way, not in like the first week or, a few days, like over a season. And so, you're going to have to stabilize right after the contest because all of the food that you ate, whatever, but then let yourself get back to baseline and then slowly bring it back up, okay? As a coach, what I usually like to do is I try to get my clients to maintenance as fast as possible. After the season, because you're not going to do yourself any favor slowly bringing it out. Get to maintenance. That doesn't mean that you're going to start gaining exponentially amount of body fat. No, you're maintenance. And then you slowly increase it from there as your metabolism comes up. Okay, the reverse diet is the hardest part of a competition prep. Okay, because you don't have that date of the competition where you're going to be up in front of hundreds of people. The reverse diet afterwards, it's hard because your body's wanting to crave other food, but you don't have that end date in sight of like holding yourself accountable. And so really having a plan in place after the contest is huge. Cary,
I was just going to add, this is where it is extremely important to have a coach.
Yeah.
Especially ladies, I don't know that it affects men as much because men just want to be big, period. But that scale is going to be a mind fuck.
Yeah.
You're going to see it go up. You're going to see the lines go away. You're going to wish you could stay that way, but you can't. It's not healthy. Your hormones are shot. You've got to get back to healthy. But it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's an emotional hard. And you start to add those carbs, your body craves it. Mm-hmm. So it's so easy to just go overboard. And that's where having that coach is so important because they can help talk you off the ledge.
Yep.
They can help you understand. And even I, as a posing coach, will check in on my clients post-show, especially if they have a male coach. Not that they can't help the women, but sometimes just goes better from hearing it from another female. So
yeah, and it's not going to go perfect. I mean, it's the after a competition. I've had clients, they feel guilty. Like, oh, I was so dialed in for my contest prep, and what's wrong with me now, Ryan? No, you're human. And like Cary said, you got hormones in your body that want you to gain body fat. Ghrelin, it makes you hungry. Leptin wants your body want to store body fat. I mean, your body's working against you on this process because it knows it needs it. So, but again, having that accountability is huge. And you know what? If you screw it up, fine. Talk to your coach or talk to somebody, whatever. But just know that again, you're human. But it's important to be strategic. And again, I want to say, just go at it with eyes wide open. Know it's going to be hard. Don't just think that, all right, I did it, I'm just going to go back to normal. Okay, it's a process. It is a process. So, okay, posing. So we're going to talk a little bit here about, we don't do first impression anymore. Well, the pros do. First impression, again, this depends on the federation, but there's different rounds of posing. Okay, so you'll come out usually, and you'll come out as a group first, whatever that looks like for that contest in that federation. You'll come as a group, and the head judge will work you through poses against the people that you're competing against. Okay, you'll be up in a line like this, and you'll all be doing the same poses. Okay, and then usually from there you'll do an individual routine. Again, this depends on your category. It could be a choreographed routine to music. It could be a stage walk to house music, but you will likely do some sort of individual routine by yourself. Okay, and then usually after that, then they hand out the awards. Okay, there's two different types of competitions. Generally speaking, there's the traditional setup where the pre-judging happens in the morning. So the group comparisons and the routines in the morning, and then there's a break, and then afterwards they'll do the awards, okay, in the evening. That's finals. Some, and this is how we run things, it's more continuous, and so this will all happen at the same time. It goes from pre-judging, and everybody will do the pre-judging, and we'll go right into finals. There's no break in there. So again, knowing what's going on, making sure you know what the flow is, what the agenda is for that day. Let's talk a little bit about the categories here. So who here, how should I ask this? Who here is not sure like what category they should be in, belong in? Okay, cool. And that's fine. And truthfully, not many times is there like a competitor that's the perfect fit for something. Like you're usually a tween. You're usually in between two categories that you can float in between, okay? And so we're gonna talk a little bit about the different categories today, and you probably won't figure it out today, and it might change over time. It might change over time as your body develops, what you tend to enjoy. So just because you start in one category doesn't mean you'll always be in that category.
Right.
So, yeah, please.
I mean, I've had clients that, we're hitting one category, and then as they lean out and you know what? I think maybe we should also try, what I'm thinking of is a physique, women's physique, another federation, but figure. We also threw her into figure, so we started working on figure posing just a few weeks from her shows, and she did really well. So other times bikini, I'm kind of that tweener. I can build my upper body, so figure might be good. I could probably do figure, but these tiny legs, they're the bikini legs, so.
Yeah. So let's start with bikini. We'll talk about that. So first is when judging bikini, we're looking for shape. And what I mean by that is, symmetry. I'm going to repeat myself a lot on this because as judges, you're kind of looking at the same thing for each category, but it's a little different. So bikini is shape, small waist, round glutes,
Ryan, do you
thighs.
want to back up though, maybe?
Please.
And fully define symmetry.
Yeah. So symmetry is, again, based on the category, the structure that an athlete should have on stage. So for example, bodybuilding, somebody with, large shoulders, a small waist, a lot of mass, this is a big one, the legs are developed in proportion to their upper body, or their back is developed in proportion to their chest or their front. And so it's just, again, how things are symmetrically put together, okay? So that's kind of what the symmetry is.
Yeah, when I explain it to my clients, I'll say, we want, if you were to look at me today, not stage, but today, I'm much larger upper body compared to lower body. I am not symmetrical. So it's upper to lower, side to side, front to back. Yeah. We can sometimes look amazing, and as a judge, I'm like, wow, look at that person, and then they turn around and they have no back. Yeah. So their front to back is not symmetrical. Does that make sense?
From my first show that I ever did in 2016 till now, my number one feedback from a judge in a positive manner has been my symmetry. So I guess what Ryan is saying, that's me, right? So I have a big chest, but I have a big back. I have big legs, but I have like a symmetrical size arms. I don't think I have big arms, but basically, I guess from what I've been told, and you've said this before, from when I first started till now, everything about me is like the same, which is a benefit. So I guess I would be considered have great symmetry. So
yeah.
So when I pose, you guys will see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You could also have a missing body part. Maybe one shoulder is more developed than the other, or it could be your posing because your posture is not right. So that's where a posing coach can also help. They can help camouflage some of that a little bit, or if you've got that big back but your legs are maybe not quite there, it might work with you to actually bring your back down from your posing standpoint. So there's things we can do with posing to help that symmetry be better if you're not quite symmetrical. I mean, let's face it, most of us aren't.
No, nobody's got perfect
symmetrically,
symmetry.
But
yeah. No, it is, and it's again, when we talk about these categories, maybe there's one or two that you identify more with, and that's can help steer that. Bikini as a general rule is just it's less muscle than some of the other female categories. So again, still has muscle, but not as much as the others. So maybe a little bit more lower body than upper body. Again, smaller waist and glutes are a big focus that on bikini. Legs, not quite as wide of a back or wide as shoulders as say some of the other categories that we'll talk about. I just mentioned this fullness, symmetry, always important. Presentation, bikini is one of the, I'll just say, more challenging categories when it comes to presentation.
Absolutely.
Because there's just a lot more freedom when you're posing, and there's a lot more finesse there. And so certainly bikini, and you're wearing heels, so you can see heels. So there's an element to that. So definitely posing is a big part of that. I just said heels. And then bikini does a stage walk. Okay, that's what they'll do, their group comparisons, and then they do a stage walk.
What I would say about bikini is, you can have the muscle there, but you're going to just have a softer look. You're not going to have, any striations in your shoulders, or especially not in your glutes. Not so much. You're just not going to have that cut look.
Yep.
Muscle's still there. Muscles are still, full, but it's just a softer look in general.
Should we explain what the T-walk or the stage walk is?
We'll talk about that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so what is a stage walk? So generally speaking, there is when you get on stage, and
You
again,
have a photo of it.
I might. Did I do that? No,
A photo of it back.
I don't think I do. I should, but I don't think I do.
did.
Yeah. So the promoter will help guide this, but you'll have usually anywhere between 3 and 4, maybe 5 points on stage. And so you'll come out, you'll do like your front pose, and then you'll usually walk to a side, do a side pose, walk to the middle, and then walk to the other side, and then you'll walk off. And each one of those spots, you will hit a pose and pose towards the audience. So the layout is different because each stage is different. Depends on the layout of the curtain and all the factors. So like Cary just briefly showing, it's just you're showing yourself on stage. Okay, and so again, you should get that in advance so you know what to do.
Where you get amazing pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you don't. There are some promoters that make the posing, the stage walk or the routine optional, which I don't recommend because, like Cary said, this is when the judges will provide a lot of feedback. It's where you get the best pictures. So yeah, don't.
And your family loves it.
Yeah.
Because that's when they get to just hoot and holler at just you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, figure. So figure, again, symmetry is important. What symmetry looks like for a figure competitor. This is an athlete that's got, kind of that classic X frame. They got really, nice wide clavicles, nice capped delts. They got a nice V taper on their back, again, small waist. Lower body, similar to bikini, again, nice full glutes, full nice quads. But again, they have a bigger upper body. So like I said, that X frame, that's really what differentiates between bikini and figure. Also, they're a little bit more muscular. So like I think Cary said, you're a little bit leaner for figure. Okay, you're going to see a little bit more lines. You're not to the point of fit body or women's bodybuilding conditioning, but you are leaner or have more conditioning than bikini. Presentation is they do quarter turns in figure. It's a little bit more black and white than bikini, so a little bit more defined. And then also they're wearing heels in figure as well, and there's a stage walk. okay, stage walk as well. The poses are a little bit different, and as we break out into groups, we'll demonstrate that, but the poses are a little bit different in figure 2. Okay, fit body. For most of you, this is a new category. Fit body is like Cary said earlier, is kind of what women's physique was, but it's again, the muscular
in heels.
In heels, yeah. You're wearing heels, muscularity. This is a leaner, more muscular physique than figure. And as far as symmetry goes, it's still important. You've got good amount of muscle. You're symmetrical. You can get away in fit body and not maybe having quite that X frame that you would in figure, but you still obviously want to have a nice taper on your back. But this is mainly somebody who's got more muscle, okay, than say figure. Okay, they might not have quite the X frame that figure would have, but they still have a lot of good muscle. And then poses. This is actually for fit body. You're doing mandatory poses. So like the side chest and the front double bicep. Whereas figure, you're just doing the quarter turns, okay? And so there's more posing involved with the fit body. And then also conditioning is a little bit tighter, more definition. Here you probably, as you can kind of see in this picture, start seeing some striations in the glutes, things like that. So a little bit more conditioned. And then this athlete does a routine. They will actually do a routine choreographed to music. So that's what fit body is. All right, look at this guy, Brandon. So bodybuilding. Bodybuilding, this is probably the category most of you are familiar with. It's where things started. So there's men's and women's bodybuilding. So bodybuilding is the most muscular category of all of them. Okay, and so if somebody's got a lot of muscle, good chance bodybuilding would be a good fit for them. I just said that. Conditioning is the most extreme. Okay, and so again, somebody's got striations, glutes, veins, vascularity, all of it, okay? Game on. That's what bodybuilding is all about. So having the muscle and conditioning. Symmetry, as with everything else, just as important. For bodybuilding, again, it's left to right, top to bottom, front to back. All of those matter. No shoes, no heels. So I say that because women, this is, if you don't like to wear heels, this is your best category, okay? Because you don't have to wear them, okay? And sometimes that's what makes the choice of either somebody maybe has something going on with their feet, they can't wear heels or whatever, but no heels. And sorry, I don't want to backtrack here, but there's no defined heel that you have to wear, okay? Cary, you can speak to this too. I mean, you don't have to wear the 5-inch stilettos, okay? If you are in, maybe you're just not comfortable and you wear just a 1-inch heel, okay? It might look a little bit different compared to the other athletes on stage, but you know what? If that's what works for you and your body, fine. That's okay.
I would usually recommend if the higher heel is an issue, you can get platform. They come in platforms as well. So if the front has, another inch on it, it's just going to feel more comfortable to your foot. Even if it's, a 3 to 4 inch heel, it's only going to feel like a 2 to 3 inch heel on your foot.
Yeah. Yep. So, and then bodybuilding does a posing routine, okay? Choreographed to music. Classic, okay? So classic, this one is very similar to bodybuilding. The thing about classic is they put a big emphasis on symmetry. And I'm not saying that symmetry is not important for all the other classes, but classic, that's what they're looking for, is that classic look. So like symmetry is very much so kind of weighed even more than, say, conditioning. I'm not saying that you can't be in shape. I got to be careful there. But symmetry is really the driving factor. As a judge, you're looking at classic. The other thing that you're looking at is presentation and posing. So if you can't pose well or you don't enjoy posing, classic is not the category for you. The poses are more artistic, more classic. They're challenging. Okay, so there's a lot of different poses when it comes to classic. Go ahead, Brandon.
So if you talk about being like a tweener or whatever, like Ryan and Cary spoke about, for me personally, I guess bodybuilding and classic would probably be my tweener. I have never competed in anything but bodybuilding. I'm going to make that clear because of that. Because I am not, I think I'm a good poser, but I am not, I don't have the like the finesse to do some of the classic poses, because classic to me is like, especially as an amateur judge, it is an art form. Like it is very common that in my experience as an amateur judge at the shows that I've been a test judge for, the show I just judged for my first time, the person that wins best poser in classic didn't even place top 3 in the actual overall, because the best poser was just really good at posing and manipulating his body and making it look just very good, versus he wasn't as symmetrical, or he didn't have that much muscle definition, but he just moved so well. And that just tells you how important posing is in classic. So like if you really enjoy like the classic poses and like that's something that you're really into, classic might be the one for you.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I might speak on that too.
Please.
I'm also definitely a tweener. I am small for an open bodybuilder, but that is the category that I have the most passion for. I like that more rough, like shredded, bulkier look that I always strive for, but I also struggle to get larger. But classic would actually be a very good category for me. And at my second show in 2018, I did cross over and I got talked into by that promoter to do classic physique. But I completely bombed it. And so, yeah, and it was because of the posing. I had 1 week to prepare for it. The coach I had at that time, which was not Ryan, had no idea what classic was. It was a brand new category that year. I had to Amazon Prime some trunks, and everything just went wrong and fell apart, and I haven't touched that category since.
Yeah. So again, goes back to presentation and the easy points with posing. From a muscularity standpoint, it's still classic is very muscular. You're still lean. Conditioning is very important. But like I said, the symmetry and presentation are kind of the two that are kind of help you decide which category you fit best into. Fullness and classic, again, that classic look, fullness, which kind of ties right back into symmetry, with all the muscle groups. And then classic, of course, does a routine as well. And then the last category, not the class. The last typical men's category, men's physique. So this one right here, symmetry, what this looks like for men's physique. It's similar to figure, a V-taper, So someone in men's physique, they might not have the fullness of a bodybuilder, but they've got really good wide shoulders, nice, caps on their delts, very good V-taper, small waist. They've got, you can see you wear board shorts, but the board shorts are tight. They're tight now, and so you can see if somebody's got leg development or not. But the legs aren't as prominent as, say, their upper body is. But you can see if they have legs. Conditioning on men's physique is pretty lean. Again, think of like a beach body look, for lack of a better term. But conditioning is very important. You'll see some very lean athletes in men's physique. Presentation. This is kind of the bikini for the guys. And I don't mean that insulting, but it's the most challenging posing because, again, there's a lot more finesse involved in men's physique and a lot more transitions. And so posing, men's physique does quarter turns. So technically that's they have 4 poses. However, if you've ever seen men's physique on stage, it's a lot more than just 4 poses, okay? So that's the presentation side of it. Muscularity, not as muscular, not as much mass as, say, men's bodybuilding or classic as well, but still has good amount of muscle. And then men's physique does a stage walk. Okay, and then the last category I want to talk about, and then we're going to split out into groups here, is transformation. Transformation, honestly, is my favorite category. What it is, it's about self-improvement. It's about people that have made a transformation in their life. Maybe they've done a 360 in their health. Maybe they've overcome some disease or some other obstacle. Maybe they had some sort of trauma in their life that they overcame. Whatever the case is, that is transformation. And we've all known people that have done that. It's like, wow, what a transformation. Or maybe some of you have done it. But this is what that category is all about. So it's about documenting the journey, okay, which that includes an essay, so they actually tell their story, like what they did, how they overcame it, what they've done, and what they've accomplished. And then also the changes, the physical changes. Maybe they lost a bunch of body weight, maybe they lost a bunch of body fat, maybe they lowered their cholesterol or whatever the case is. But what did they do? And then also, when they get on stage, this is not like a competition where you're in like a posing suit. We make it comfortable for them. This is their time to shine, so we have them come up on stage. We show their before and after pictures, we tell their story, and it's a chance for the crowd to give them applause and to recognize them. So that's transformation, and so it's an awesome category, and I think it's a great gateway to get people involved in the sport. And so if you all know somebody that's on this journey, talk to them about it. We have this on our website. But it's awesome. I mean, we've seen some amazing stories over the years, and I get more applause and feedback on transformation than anything. And
when it comes to the physical changes, the before and after is up to a year. So that's what that is. The essay can be, a longer time period, but as far as the physical, it'd be a year prior to the show date.
Groups. Yeah. So again, the transformation is an awesome category. And we'll have people do transformation and compete in one of those other categories too. Or what's cool is I've seen somebody do transformation one year, and then the next year they come back and do another category. And so it's awesome.
Judging is based on the essay, the photos, all of it. And the judges do that in advance of the show. So then the winner is announced at the show.
Yep. So yeah, transformation. Okay. So now you guys get to get up and stop hearing me talk and us talk. So we're going to break out into groups. And what we'll do is this is a chance for you to kind of touch and try some of these poses out. Again, like I said at the beginning of this, nobody's being judged here. This is just a chance to experiment and kind of see, okay, I want to see what figure posing is like, or men's physique posing is like, or bodybuilding. And we're going to break you into groups, and then you can try multiple things. And so let's do this way. We haven't really rehearsed this or figured this out, but obviously the ladies will go with Cary. So if you're interested in bikini or figure, go with Cary. Okay. Bodybuilding, let's stick with Brandon. Stick with you. And then actually, if you two want to double team, do you feel comfortable doing classic too? Taking people to classic. So if you bodybuilding or classic, go with Brandon and Chris. And then anybody in men's physique, come see me, and then we'll break out, and what we'll do is we'll show you the poses, kind of walk you through them. You can try them, and then we'll spend about 20 minutes or so doing that, maybe a half hour. And then after we're done with that, we're going to regroup, and then we'll go through Q&A. Sound good?
Sounds great. Feel free to bounce around a little bit, especially the guys, if you're not sure and you just want to get a little taste of each.
Yep.
Go for it.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. All right. Don't be shy. Let's do it. It would be awkward, and that's okay. That's good. I always say that's when great things happen, is when you get outside your comfort zone. So what we'll do now is we'll do some Q&A. Very informal here. So I brought Kayla up because, like I said, she's a pro as well, and she's competed multiple times. And we just want to answer your questions about whatever it is, competing, prep, posing, anything like that. So what questions do you guys have, or did you guys have any questions come up? Actually, I had a question come up. I was talking to Heath earlier. I was asking about how much time does it take to learn posing? How much time should be dedicated? And I don't know. Cary, I'll let you add on to this because you're a posing coach, but it depends on the person. I think some, if they have, like Cary said, good hand-eye coordination, they just have the ability to move, maybe they can dance well, they could probably learn it quicker, maybe even in like 3 months time and nail it, maybe even shorter amount of time. But somebody who's maybe have 2 left feet, a little awkward, just not, this is something new, maybe it's going to take longer. So Cary, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I would totally agree. It's all about body awareness, if you've got a really good body awareness. And it also depends a little bit on the division. So if you've got good body awareness and you're doing figure, we could probably get you ready in a couple of months. But if you got the 2 left feet, even for figure, we're going to want more time. But then you start to talk about that fit body or the classic, men's classic, where all those poses come into play. Bikini with those transitions just to get it fluid. If you're that 2 left footer, I mean, I've worked with people for 6-8 months, basically even before they start their prep. So, and the earlier I can get someone, the better, because then I know how much time we're really going to need, how often we maybe need to get together. Because if I get with someone and they're kind of a natural, I might say, you know what, let's just check in a month, and we just go from there. But if it's someone with 2 left feet, I'm going to be checking on them regularly, probably asking for videos, etc. So.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. Good. What other questions do we got?
You don't have to be shy.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you have any first recommendations for coaches, because I go to college at Dunne, and I've been here this summer, so it's like a little bit awkward trying to find a coach when I can have small meeting does too. I was just wondering if you knew anybody that would work well for that.
Well, I'm not. So great question. So the question was, where can I find a good coach? Basically, is that kind of summarize it? Right. Because what if you're in where you live, there's not that, or the gym you train at? Well, so there's the local coaches and there's online coaches, and I do both. And I'm not here to sell my services, but they both work. When you have an in-person coach, there's advantages to that because, especially like what we just did with the posing, you're going to have somebody there to help with the posing. And that's why some clients or some athletes, they might have an online nutrition coach, but they might have a Cary who's in person to do with posing. It is really hard to teach somebody how to pose online. Now, if somebody already has a good foundation on how to pose, then yes, we can refine that online, but if they're trying to learn from complete scratch, it's really helpful to have an in-person coach with posing. On nutrition and everything else, that can be done online. It comes back down to being a good client, being able to report well, getting good pictures, filling out logs or whatever that coach has you do. So then that way you give that coach the information they need to give you guidance. And that's the same whether it's a local coach or an online coach. So
And you do have a great foundation for posing, so you could be successful doing online for a little bit. You specifically, with watching you.
Yeah, and so that's what I would recommend. And ask references. And this goes for everything. Look to see, okay, if you're looking at somebody, okay, what's their track record? What have they done in the past? What's their background? And so do your research, do your homework and make sure that it's a good fit. Because, I do the same thing. Like when I'm looking for a client, I'm looking for a good client. Not to say good as far as somebody who's genetically blessed, but that will be a good client, making sure that, they put in the work, or they do their homework, they send in their information, because if they don't, well, then it's not going to be a good fit for either one. So, yeah. Brad.
Okay, Ryan will sell his services, so I'll sell them for him. I was an hour away from Ryan, and those monthly in-person sessions were awesome. Now I'm 2 hours away, and I kind of missed those, but he's still a very effective coach. And he's right, except for the posing aspect, that really has to be done in person. But outside of that, I'm still getting the results that I want. So you don't necessarily have to have an in-person coach. So that's just the my own experience.
Also, to piggyback off of what Brad was saying, I am 2 hours and 15 minutes away from Ryan, and I still drove down once a month for a monthly meeting, a check-in, and posing practice because I had the flexibility and I saw the value in that, and it helped substantially.
Yeah, and I did online coach for the most part for my nutrition and workouts. I think some of that depends on your experience in the gym, to make sure you're doing things safely, accurately, your form's good. So I didn't necessarily need that, but if you're brand new to the gym, something in person might be helpful. But for posing, I don't take any clients fully online. I might start with them if they're doing very well, and I might do some check-ins online, but I need to be there to just see, and it's really hard. There's some really, really good posing coaches that can verbalize and get out of someone what they're trying to get them to do, but it's usually athletes who have been doing it for a while. So I drove 2 hours for my posing coaching, but that was usually about once a month, maybe twice a month. So sometimes it's worth the drive.
Yeah. And coming to seminars like this is great. I mean, for two reasons. One, you get education, you get feedback, but you're also in a group of like-minded individuals. And so I think that any chance that you can get, like I host a seminar like this in April, March, just depends, but in the spring, but there's other ones. And then also just going to competitions. You know, we were talking to Heath earlier about that. I mean, being around other people, seeing what a competition is going to be like, you know, hopefully all of you come into August 30th at Musclefest, because then you can see how the flow works and see what other competitors are doing, talk to some judges, whatever. Just, again, immersing yourself, being around other like-minded individuals. I always say, you know, do and be around the people that you want to be around and are doing the things that you want to do. And that's going to help propel you that direction. So, yeah, good questions. What else? What other questions do we have? I know. Here's a question I get often, like how long should I take as far as prep? How long should I plan for that? Well, again, your first time into it is hard to say because you haven't done it before. But you know, I think that the big thing is going back to the categories and say, based on where I think I should land, like what category I should best compete in, what do I need to do first to get to that point? Like, is it a symmetry thing? Do I need to add muscle? Am I lacking in any specific body parts? You know, if you want to do bikini and you have no glutes, okay, it's probably going to be a ways away. But if you've got a good amount of muscle tissue and just need to get conditioned and learn the posing, could you get done in 6 months? Maybe, maybe, but you always want to have a buffer there. You always want to have time on your side. So it's better to have more time than not. So maybe like if somebody comes to me and I look at them and I'm like, okay, if everything goes perfect, we can probably have them ready to go in 6 months. However, I'll probably lend to say, let's do spring just to give us more time, because then that helps give them time to set up for success. It helps me learn more about them, and it just makes the process better. So, and those are things you can figure out as you go. So, yeah.
You guys may not have any questions, but I'm just gonna say something because I've said it at every seminar that I think I've done, just because I think it's really important, especially if you are a first-time competitor or you're looking to compete or thinking about competing. Is that, and I'm a social media user. I use my Instagram quite a bit. For any of these guys that follow me, they know that, and it's for me. It's my own accountability. It's something that I enjoy. It allows me to be creative, whatever. But I definitely don't consider myself an influencer, right? I don't. That's not my lane, I don't think. But social media can be very harmful too, though. Comparison is the thief of joy. So if you are, it's okay to see someone and be like, man, okay, that's the standard, or that's what I would like to aspire to be. But I would try to I would try not to say things like, that's what I want to look like, because your body is not their body, right? Me and Chris were just talking about that. Me and him are both bodybuilding pros, but we have completely different skills and completely different body types. And I will never look like Chris, and Chris will never look like me. I'm also a midget, and he's not. So there's no way I'm going to look like him.
I'm a midget.
Yeah,
Let's
true.
be honest.
But we just have such complete different body types. But I was just telling him, when I look at that photo of him, he's the second photo up there under the member accomplishments. I'm just like, dude, that is just such a just great look. I just love that look, and I will never have that look, right? So what I have to do is I have to make sure that I'm creating my own look, and I'm being me, and I'm being true to myself, right? And I just think that's really important, especially in today's age. The gyms that I go to, there's a lot of younger people in there, and this isn't me bashing on younger people, but social media and that kind of stuff is a big part of is a big part of our everyday life and culture now. And I just think that it's really, really important that we use it for positive and not negative, because it can really get to you and you can really start to like question yourself and doubt yourself. And like you can go on this tailspin of like, well, this person looks like this and well, I'm obviously not doing enough. And then you go into that grind phase, like Chris said earlier, where you're just like, well, I obviously got to do more. I'm obviously doing something wrong. You just got to trust the process. And I promise you things will work out. So my rant is over.
Yeah.
I am going to add on to that just a touch. Some of my clients, depending on where their head is, where their emotions are, I'll tell them to just get off social media right before shows, several weeks before, especially if you start, you could see others who are going to compete with you because they'll announce it on social media. And that will just mess with you like nothing else. So a lot of times it's going dark for a few weeks is a good thing.
Yeah.
One thing, related to what you're saying, like body types, right? Like, me and Ryan were talking about that. Like, I struggled putting on weight my whole life. Like, I graduated high school with this height at 150 pounds. I'm at 200 now. It took me years to get to that. But I'm sure someone like you probably can put it on a lot easier. It's just the way your build is. So, I mean, you have to know that you're not going to be the same person. Look at somebody online, I don't want to look like that, but you may not be able to get there. It's just, it's how your body is, and I think you have to understand, like, you know how you gain weight, you probably know how you lose weight, and it can be easy for some people and really hard for other people. So you have to be able to understand yourself.
Spot on.
And not other people.
And can I add to that too? Not just social media when you do your first competition. I was so freaking proud of what I did. I was in the best shape of my life, and then I stand on stage and I'm the fattest guy on stage. But so when you do this, do it for yourself. Don't do it for a medal, do it for yourself. And if you step on stage, the best shape of your life, you've already won.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what medal you get, you've already won. You got to do it for yourself, not to beat somebody else.
Yep. Exactly.
And he's right, because that becomes...
They say when you're in the sport, only 1% of the people can do this, because it is one of the hardest things you put your body through, and some people just can't do it. So for us as a community and how we are in this and we know what it entails, that's a win right there. I mean, putting our bodies through this really hard process is a big, huge thing.
So I first competed in 2016, and then in 2017 I competed, and I remembered my first show in let me backtrack. In 2016 I competed my first shows with Chris, and I did pretty good. And then I did another show, I don't know, a few weeks later, and I was riding on this high, right? It's like, I did pretty good at this bodybuilding thing. I'm gonna do really good all the time. And then I did not do very good. I took 5th, and like from taking 2nd to 5th. And I was kind of like, oh, bodybuilding sucks. This is horrible. Why would I ever do this? And it took me like a year, and then I deployed actually, so that helped too, like just getting away. But it took me like quite a while to like come back to why I did it in the first place. I did it in the first place to challenge myself and do something difficult and do something that I thought that I would like. But it became about winning. It became about that competitive mindset, all that kind of stuff. And then with some maturity just in life, I think too, and understanding and having someone like Ryan as that sounding board, I think is the analogy that people use. Every other show I've ever done since then, every other show, I've always just tried to be better than I was the last show. That has been my number one goal. And, fortunately, you may place well, or you may win, or you may whatever, and that obviously feels really good. But I always just try to remind myself, like, okay, I just wanted to be better than I was, before. I won the St. Louis Natural Classic in 2022. I'm from St. Louis, so that was probably like that is by far probably the most proudest accomplishment I have in sport. That's from wrestling, bodybuilding, doesn't matter. That's probably the most proudest I've ever had, just because I did it in my hometown. It was a pro show, and I won a pro show, being the best bodybuilder on stage, and that was wild to me, right? And when I won, it was really emotional. Everything felt good, but I had a moment with myself, and I just reminded myself that I just wanted to be better than I was 3 weeks ago in Minnesota, right? Because I don't want to get swept up in that type of adulation and feel like how I did when I first started competing, right? So it's just bodybuilding is such a fun sport. It's so amazing because, in my opinion, it's taught me so much, like, just mental finesse, if that makes sense, and understanding like how to push through things and get through things, right? Especially when you're dieting, and that sucks. You know, that's a whole nother thing, and everyone's going to go through that at some point, and you will know when it's happening. And like everyone on this stage just said, just having people around you, coaches, loved ones that can be there for you and help you is really, really important.
So you kind of mentioned that you do a show and then like you'll do another one a few weeks later. Like, what does that look like in the meantime? Because like, do you stay like show ready between that time, or do you like change a little bit and go back?
I got a story for you. Okay. So usually out of the 5 seasons I've competed in, the 5 seasons I've competed, I did a pretty good job of that. And like I said, anytime I've ever competed, Ryan's been my coach.
He's a guy, though.
Yes, that is true. That is very true. And I will say this, let me just get this out there. Women, you have it the absolute hardest when it comes to this sport, because, you know, all the social stuff, but like, no, just honestly, you're going on stage half naked in front of a bunch of people and they're judging you. Like, men, we don't have to like necessarily, like, that doesn't enter our brain, because we just want to be like, I'm strong, you know? It's like that, you said that earlier, and that is that's my truth, at least, right? We do go through stuff, which Chris can speak on in a minute, but that is the truth. But for me, 2023 was really rough. I started prep in March, and I went all the way to October. That was a bad decision. I shouldn't have done that. But, you know, and Ryan tried to like kind of talk me out of doing that, but I just had it set in my brain. I want to do this show, I want to do that show, and I have to do that show. And I struggled. It was really hard. So, but it's really dependent on you, I think. I know people that can stay stage ready and maintain that for a really long time. That was my first time doing something that hard and that intense. I wouldn't recommend it at this point in my career. I think probably I do a show, and then I would probably say 3 weeks after is probably a pretty good buffer for me if I know that might be my last show that season. 3 shows I think is a lot. 3 shows for me is a lot, but that's just me and what I believe my body can maintain, and what I've been able, and my experiences so far, and what I've been able to do. So yeah, for me it would be 2 to 3 weeks would probably be my max. I can push a month just depending on what it is, I think. So, because that's what, yeah, because we're talking about that for 2026.
So I did 3 seasons over almost 5 years. So I took a little more time than most women do in bikini. A lot of women will do every year, kind of the same season or same time of year. I would take at least 18 months. I'm also an older athlete, so I needed to recover better or longer. I would do multiple shows, but it really just depended on how I was feeling. So I might shoot for my first show. I usually would try and go ahead and I'm going to do that one just to have that target. I don't, necessarily need to wait to see if I'm totally ready, knowing I may not be fully ready, with the idea of, okay, what other shows follow that, within 2 to 4 weeks. That's about the max I would probably recommend anybody try to, and it depends. This is where a coach comes in again, because it depends where you come in. If I came in really ready in that first show, we could probably maintain it for a couple of weeks for that next show, but we might actually start to reverse out and increase calories and do some things going into that third show. So there's different ways depending on your body, your coach's experience. But yeah, there is a too long, and because your hormones are shot. Your hormones are shot for everybody, guys included. But women, we're made to make babies, and that means we gotta have body fat. And so you just can't stay there very long. And that's assuming you've got your stage ready from the beginning. If you aren't stage ready for that first show, yeah, you could knock out probably a couple more over a longer period. But it really depends on the person. But I always try to do more than one show, because if I'm gonna work that damn hard,
I agree.
I wanna do it at least twice. No. I usually did 2 to 3. I got a lot of second places, just barely missing that pro card. But guess what? That second place drove me instead of defeated me, because once I did get the pro card, I'm like, what's next?
Yep.
So, and then my hormones were shot enough that I never did get to the pro stage.
Does that answer your question? Okay, cool.
Sorry, that was a lot of talking.
No, that's good.
Hopefully it was helpful.
Is there any like specific visual indicators you look for, like in clients or something that kind of lets you know like how long it'll be until they'll be ready to be on stage?
Yeah, so the question was, is there any specific indicators that I look for as far as determining how long it's going to take for them to get on stage? And, usually metabolism is the first thing. I want to see what their intake looks like because, we got to make sure we've got a big enough engine to take them to the finish line. And so if somebody comes to me and I look at them and I can see that, assuming muscle mass and symmetry is fine, I see them and maybe they've got 15, 20 pounds of body fat they have to lose, but they're only consuming 1,400 calories, 1,200 calories, whatever. I'm like, ooh, that ain't gonna work. So the first thing there is we gotta get their metabolism up, and that can take a while sometimes. And so get their metabolism up, and then the same thing with their activities. If they're doing way too much cardio and we have a lot of body fat to lose, then we're going to be in trouble because those are all levers that we need to pull. But if they're already pulled and broken off, actually, then we're in trouble. And so that's what I look for first. And so from there, okay, if they're consuming a solid amount of calories, their body composition's in a good spot, then we're probably going to be in a good spot. So, but that's always the first thing I look at is what's their metabolism, because to what everybody's point's talking about, that's what's going to need to be in the best spot to get there. Because when the first time you get on stage, you're not going to look your best. Let me say that again. You will not look the best that you could be. It's your first time on stage. It's your first rodeo. Get up there, feel great, like what Brad said, feel great about what you brought to the stage, but hopefully you do it again. And the next time you go on stage, guess what? You'll look better. And so, we want to make sure that first time is set up for success. So, yeah. Anybody want to add to that?
I was just gonna say that if you so the first time you get on stage and then you say to yourself, okay, this is something I want to continue to do, you will get better. It's almost like I shouldn't say you will, but if you do the basic right things, you will get better, right? Yeah. You take care of your body, you eat well, you train hard, the basics. I shouldn't just say that, but you guys get what I'm saying. Yep. You will get better. And I'm telling you, it is one of the best feelings in the world when you can compare yourself to what you used to look like. And I'm not even talking like on the stage. I'm talking in general, right? Because for me, with my bodybuilding journey or the lifestyle, I guess, is, from what I looked like, I think I look better now than I did in my 20s, right? From my skin, my general size, my strength. I'm actually a better athlete, legitimately, jumping, sprinting, agility. I'm a better athlete now than I was then. And I was a college athlete, right? But I'm such a better athlete now than I was then. And I think and for me, now at this point, I can't speak I'm in my 20s anymore because I'm not, right? I'm, 34. So I have to be able to live where I'm at now. And I think that's super important for me because this is my 2026, next year will be my 10th year technically committing myself to this. And just the amount of physically the changes have just been astronomical. So even if you compete once and then you say to yourself, okay, it was a great process, I enjoyed it, but I don't think the stage thing is for me. I'd rather just do it and just eat healthy and stick to a plan and all those kinds of things. That is just such a massive lifestyle change. And I don't even know how many people don't do that, right? Let alone get on stage and spend a lot of money for tan and all that stuff. But just generally that kind of lifestyle is really, really phenomenal for you and health and wellness.
What other questions do we have? All right, let's go down. We'll start, Chris, if you're cool with this. Let's start with you, and let's just one piece of advice that you would give to everybody that's getting ready to start their journey.
Just one?
Well, or a piece of advice. We got to, watch time. But, what's a piece of advice or or something that you wish you would have known, or maybe a mistake you made, or something you did right. I don't know, just something you want to share.
I've basically made every mistake you can make except for cheating on a diet in a prep. I do want to touch base on something Brandon said earlier that I can't say is important enough. The social media, it's not to sound old, it's poison to a lot of people, especially a competitor, because there's so many unrealistic expectations because you're seeing someone's highlight reel. You're seeing the best of them, and you're not seeing their worst. So just don't compare yourself to what you see on social media. You're just setting yourself up for failure and unrealistic expectations. Sorry. Odds are your favorite fitness influencer is doing and taking a lot of things that you aren't, and you probably shouldn't ever do. On top of that, like one thing that I've typically done in most of my preps is like what Cary is saying is I pretty much go dark. Either I delete most of my social media, I silence my social media, I block a lot of things, especially people, if I know competitors are doing the same show as me, I will block them on social media. I will block the show page itself or even the federation because I don't want to see in those updates because it's getting it in my head. Because what I used to do early on in my career is I was like, I'd see like a competitors list, or I'd see competitors that knew were doing a show, and then she's smiling because she saw me do it. Then it gets in my head because it's like, damn it, like those guys look so much better than me. They're leaner, they're bigger. But again, it's all smoke and mirrors, and you're seeing that person's highlight reel. Not to pat myself on the back, but most of those people that I was worried about, I ended up beating. And so just stop comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah, that's a good one. Not comparing to other people. I think the best advice I can give, especially new competitors, is hiring a coach. I don't think there's no way you can go through it alone without a coach, someone who is going to help you off the ledge. I remember being in the gym and I was just in tears one day and texting my coach, and she sends me a reel of pictures of me from when I started. And that's what I needed. I needed to see my progress and not dwell in my second place for the fourth time. So hiring a coach is just so important. They've got your back. They're going to have your best interest. You got to do your research. You got to do your homework because there are coaches out there that don't. But having someone credible like these guys here, they're going to watch out for you, and they might tell you no. Like Ryan was trying to tell Brandon, no, we should not do this show. But that's because they have your best interest at hand. He knew it wasn't healthy, but Brandon's going to do what he's going to do, so then he supports him. So I think that's the best thing, because especially post-show, those coaches are priceless.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. When you have your coach, you gotta have your coach and you have a relationship. If your relationship isn't good with your coach, then you guys just won't mesh well. You have to be able to believe in your coach and, pretty much rely on, not rely, but what's the word? Trust is a big thing when it comes with a coach, because if you don't trust them, you're not going to do very well. So also the biggest mistake I have done is probably post-show. Post-show, I got my pro card in 2020, which was my first ever competing, and I was in women's physique. And I got down, I got down to 3% body fat. I didn't have a reputable coach. He was a good friend, but after getting to a show, and we talked about when you get that lean, your body wants to eat. Like me, I like sugar. So I went on a rampage even months after, and I gained probably at least 15 pounds. And I was only 95 pounds on stage. So definitely having a coach to lean on as far as if I would have had a direct line of what I was doing after post-show to not, go on that tangent, it probably been a lot better. And then I got with Ryan, and after I competed in 2021 and I did 3 shows, it was easier for me to not get into that mindset of wanting to splurge Like we had a goal, and I did 3 shows that year. And even after, we had a goal to get back to reverse, to get me up to those calories, so then I could go on.
I want to mention, she said 15 pounds. That's for her. 15 pounds is not, like, for me off stage, that would be probably perfect. So I don't want anybody to dwell on that 15 pounds post-show because she's tiny. So I just had to add that.
Yeah.
So I started like making a note real quick just so that I can. It's annoying, I know, but it's a lot of what these guys are saying. Social media, I've ranted on that. You guys have heard that too much. Coaching is key. If you do not have a coach, it's key. Delayed gratification. I would really try to focus on trusting the process throughout a prep. Trusting what's being laid out for you, especially if you do have a reputable coach. That's really, really important. Just knowing that, you will get there eventually. It may not be as fast as you want, but that's kind of a part of it. Be selfish, right? You're gonna have to be selfish in a lot of different ways. And with being selfish, you're gonna have to make sacrifices too. All the social events, that kind of thing. That's really important, but it always pays off in my experience. This is, Ryan had mentioned if there's something you can do that you made a mistake on. For me, it was when I did my very first show ever. I just ate just like chicken and rice every single day, every single meal. That's all I did. That's all I did because I thought that's what you had to do. I thought that's what worked in bodybuilding, and completely negated all the food options and the plans that he sent over. I was just like, I gotta eat chicken and rice. That's what all the people on YouTube do, that was wrong. And, once I really started to trust the process and understand macronutrients and what I can make that meets that can still have some actual taste to it and actually not be the most boring, bland thing ever, I changed my entire perspective on nutrition. It's still hard, right? It's still hard, but it just makes it better. And be nice to people. Be humble about what you accomplish and things like that. Be nice to yourself. It's probably more important, but yeah.
He talked about sacrifices, and yes, it will affect not just you, but your entire family. Everybody who lives in your house, everybody you work with. I had a boss who was, when is this done? I wasn't sure if it was, how to take that, but you change, and they need to be along for the ride too. If you have big events, big things happening, maybe it's a wedding coming up, maybe it's a graduation, one of your kids, maybe it's, I don't know, you've got a parent that's ill, it's not the time to compete. And hopefully a coach can help you through that and making that decision. But stress is a huge thing when in this sport. And if there's already stress in your life in other ways, you're not going to do well. And financially, you've heard us talk about it, it's expensive.
Yeah.
That's part of why, while you add on a second show, there's expenses there, but sometimes that second show, you don't have to spend quite as much, because some things carry over. You've already got your suit, you've already got, your polygraph will carry over generally, those kind of things. So it's another way to get another show in a little bit less expensive than the first one.
Cool. Well, I think the last thing that I'll say is just, stay uncomfortable. Keep pushing yourself. We're all good at that. That's what we do when we go to the gym, right? We push ourselves beyond what we're currently capable of, and that's where you grow. I don't care if it's in bodybuilding or something else, but staying uncomfortable is really the key to progress. And so, whatever it is that you choose to do, whether it's